Hello, my name is Jeff Mauck, and the name of my channel here is Stray Dogma 2100. And I'm going to share with you some very important information. I hope you find it interesting, and I hope you can help me in my quest. As you can see, I believe, JJ believes, that I have the Holy Grail. And this is it right here. And you can believe me or not. But I'll tell you why I believe it is the Holy Grail. And everything I have learned about it. And I invite you to help me either prove I'm right or prove I'm wrong. Either way is fine, as long as we get some proof. But what I know is that this right here is a fact. It's a fact. It's a thing. But it demands to be found, the answers. Now, what do we know about the Holy Grail? Well, I know quite a bit about the Holy Grail. And what's interesting to me is I began studying the Holy Grail when I was around 20, and I was given a book called The Spear of Destiny. This book here, although I was given a hardcover copy of it. And it contains very interesting information regarding a spear that people thought was the spear that pierced the side of Jesus. There is a word that I've learned called numinous, which means an object that people revere as being holy or godly or magical, if you will. Such was the Holy Grail. Such is the Holy Grail, and that's what people believed this spear was. They believed that this was the spear that pierced the side of Jesus, that is mentioned in the book of Matthew, and that the spear had power, magical powers, and whoever possessed the spear had the power to change the course of world history for good or for evil. And people who have been alleged to have possessed the spear were St Francis of Assissi was one, Charlegmaine. We know that Napoleon sought after it, as did Hitler. And the first place that Hitler attacked when he took power was Austria. Vienna, Austria had a museum called the Habsburg Museum, where this spear was allegedly kept. So I was given this book by a woman who was dying of cancer when I was around 20. And she said to me, Jeff, I'm going to give you this book. And I think you can understand it, but most people won't understand it. And I was a little bit mystified by that. I was kind of flattered and a little bit freaked out. And then I read the book, and I read it 5 times, and I memorized it more or less. And so I had a deep, deep understanding and background of the Holy Grail legend when I bought this object in the year 2000. I got this book in the year 1970, 71, around then. So I had studied and I knew what to look for. And when I had an opportunity to buy this from a friend of mine who didn't know what it was either, I said, yes, I'll buy it. And I've spent the last 25 years researching it. And one of the first things that I found out about it, you may ask, what is it? Well, it is a salt cellar. It was made to contain salt. Put the salt in there, and then you distribute it to the people around you who you're ministering to. And I say that, I showed this to a friend of mine who has an art gallery here in Indiana. And I let him see it. And the first thing he said to me is, that looks like a ritual box. And I'm like, yeah, Dave, you are a smart guy, because that's exactly what this is. It had contained salt. Now, the thing about salt, I began to research that, is the Latin word for salt is sal, and it's where we get the word salary. Roman soldiers were paid in salt. It was a currency up until around the 1500s. People used salt in some cultures and countries as a currency. It was also used to seal a deal because of its qualities of purity and healing properties. It can preserve food. Many wars were fought over salt. All of that is described in the great book by Mauck, which is called Salt, which I read. And the interesting thing about that book, it describes all the wars about salt through the years. And the thing about it that I found very interesting is it doesn't include any of the biblical references to salt, of which there are several. There's over 40 references to salt, but most of them are like the salt sea and stuff like that. But there's some very interesting ones. Jesus mentions salt on, I think, 3 occasions, and the salt of the earth is one of those. But in Leviticus 2, verse 13, it says that, well, I'll just look it up here and I'll read you exactly the words. And I'll tell you why this is important in a minute. 2 verse 13 says, and every oblation of thy meat offering shalt thou season with salt, neither shalt thou suffer the salt of the covenant of thy God to be lacking from thy meat offering. With all thine offerings thou shalt offer salt. Leviticus 2 verse 13. And then again in Numbers 18 verse 19, I will read what that says. And that says, all the heave offerings of the holy things which the children of Israel offer unto the Lord have I given thee, and thy sons and thy daughters with thee, by a statute forever. It is a covenant of salt forever before the Lord unto thee and to thy seed with thee. That's a pretty long time, forever. So those are 2 verses from the Pentateuch, the first 5 books of the Bible that Jesus would have been familiar with. And I believe that he made this object in Egypt for use in his ministry. And one of the next things that I began to research was this symbol that's on here, which you know as the Target logo. It's called the circumpunct, is the Roman word for it. Circumpunct, Punct, and it means a circle, point. You think of the word puncture. So a circumpunct in ancient Egypt was it had several meanings. It was the symbol for the sun god Ra. It was the symbol for gold. It was the symbol for eternity. It was the symbol for the creator god. It was the symbol for the Alpha and Omega. And it was the symbol for the universe. So that's quite interesting. Why is that symbol on this object? Interesting. And it's also got this here rooster. Well, okay. So now we're getting some points of interest that we can triangulate. We can kind of reverse engineer, if you will, what this object is. So the rooster, if you Google it on your phone or your laptop, you might come up with the rooster in early Christianity, which symbolically meant resurrection and the dawning of a new age. Okay, interesting. So now we have the symbol for God, the symbol for resurrection, the dawning of a new age, salt, a wooden box, which has several different materials it's made of, some different types of metal. There is what appears to be a homemade nail here at the bottom, which they stopped making homemade nails 150 years ago. So somebody repaired this 150 years ago, or so I've been told. But nobody can tell me what the metal contraptions are on the side that look like they were maybe made to lock it somehow. This one seems to be missing something that went through these holes here. And I am convinced that this box was made at a place called El Fayoum, Egypt, which is on the Nile River. And that's where this box was made, here. And this box also has that symbol, the circumpunct, all over this box. This box is on display at the Institute for the Study of Ancient Cultures, formerly known as the Oriental Institute at the University of Chicago. And that box is dated 100 AD, and it's said to be of the Roman culture. Well, 100 AD, that fits exactly with the time frame of my theory that Jesus made this as part of his ministry. Now there's more. There's the idea of the Holy Grail having something to do with the Last Supper. In Leonardo da Vinci's painting of the Last Supper, he depicts a salt cellar, a container of salt, being spilled by Judas on the table. And so there's that. Then there's Jesus is at the table and he's talking to Peter. And he says to Peter, before the cock crows twice, you will deny me. Could he have been looking at the salt cellar with the cock on it at that same moment that he's talking to Peter? And he's also fighting with Judas. I believe that Judas loved Jesus and didn't want him to die. And Jesus was set on his mission. And Judas was so angry that he knocked the salt over, because how more dramatic could it be to say, I'm so angry that you're going to do this, Lord. To show you how angry I am, I'm going to knock over the salt as a demonstration of my anger. And it's been bad luck to spill salt ever since. There are many traditions that are passed along orally that are not in the Bible. And when Leonardo painted and depicted the salt being spilled at the Last Supper, that didn't come from any of the Gospels. The Gospels don't mention that. But oral tradition passed it along, and it has become part of folklore, if you will. But sometimes there are things that exist that aren't in the Bible. Everybody knows that. But some people act like, well, if it's not in the Bible, it can't be true. Well, that can't be. That just doesn't make any sense. So, it's astounding to me the number of data points that connect. The dots all connect here. The dot from the wooden box dated 100 AD to my salt cellar. Those circumpuncts are exact in terms of size. And I have to contend strongly that they were made at the same place in time, in a place called El Fayoum, Egypt. And you can watch YouTube videos on El Fayoum. There's a few of them out there. But I did see one where they have these beautiful mosaics of funerary people. And they look much like the people who occupy the area today. But the artwork is just beautiful. It looks like Italian Renaissance painters. I think someone else described it that way. And there are other connections. I would like to invite you to help me in my search here. It's important for the world, and this object has been a blessing and a curse to me. It's been a blessing because it's given me a chance to understand things I never would have before. but it's also been kind of a burden, and I'm ready to be released of it. But I want to find the right person or institution where be um, it will find the home it deserves. And everyone who has seen the object has said, yes, indeed, that is a museum quality piece. So there's that as well. I was told it would be the find of the day when I took it to the Antiques Roadshow if I could identify the culture. And at that time, I didn't even know what the circumpunct was. And I had never seen the box on display at the Oriental Institute. But I have since, and I can now, with strong confidence, say it is of the Roman culture, and I'll just leave it right there. So prove me right or prove me wrong. Help me with your contacts, or in any other way you want. There's leave some comments down below, and we'll continue the quest in the next videos. And it's going to get fun from here on out. So bear with us, and I'll try not to be too repetitive in each video. I'm new at this, and I'm not working from a script, so all of this is kind of kept in my head here, and I'll try not to bore you or waste your time. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon. Love and peace, and remember, if the dogma is wrong, the stray dogma might be right.